thing, I don't see a lot of tears. Why was I in full tears last night? Waking up my entire family. Oh, I see you. Same. Same. But this is going to be an incredible conversation, and I'm so looking forward to it. And I want to, as I'm sure many of you want to know and dig into, first of all, how they got so many incredible stars to participate and be so candid. That's what I was struck by. But let's start off with our introductions. Shola Lynch, director. Mishka Brown, executive producer. Datari, producer. Cogan, come on out, Dan. And last but not least, award-winning actress Alfre Woodard. Oh wow, it's kind of, where do you start? Because there are so many touch points. I was talking to the audience briefly before you all came out. Shola, I'll start with you. It was an emotional roller coaster. Last night I felt a sense of pride, I felt seen, then I felt sadness, and there was triumph, and then you feel, wait a minute, it was just an emotional roller coaster. You saw the audience, you were peeking in like me. What were you looking for in the reaction?
It's such a joy after being in the editing room and working on, I think our editor is here too. Erin! So many people. Sitting in the editing room, arguing with Erin, Mark, everybody come in, etc. And to be able to see it on the big screen. Finally.
Right.
And what was most
you
important?
You say finally.
Finally.
Why do you say finally?
Because it was years.
How many?
Oh my gosh. 5 years total.
Yeah. Why did it take so long?
3.5. Chasing down all these busy women in the movie. I mean, you know, they were all working, right? And so, we didn't have a talent booker, and I physically had to chase down a lot of the women to do it. I mean, getting Whoopi in the movie, we had to beg, borrow, and steal. It's crazy. Like it just took that long, and they were all busy. But.
So it was like coordinating schedules, because what I was struck by, Mishka, the candor of everyone as the executive producer of this. I mean, that's a dream come true to have a project in mind, and then people, as we like to say, come to play. And that's what we saw there.
A lot of the women talked about safety.
Yeah.
And Shola, from the very beginning, before we before we even went into production, talked a lot about how to make the women feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And when they walked on stage, you know, seeing the light and literally having flowers, there are flowers for them. So I think that helped with
Shola, talk about that a little bit, because I thought that was amazing to see people walk in seemingly unguarded. I mean, you could have started the interviews with Alfre and all of the amazing women just sitting in the chair, cut to them. There was some kind of power in seeing them walk into that moment. Talk to us about that.
Well, I wanted to include the experience of the interview, and very often we're a head in a box, you know, and there's a veritainess when you're in the room, and there's a feeling when you're in the room. So we designed the set to make people feel comfortable. Everybody had, it's like a box of chocolates. Everybody had a color. They came, we wanted them to feel the love, the beauty light. I mean, Bradford Young helped design the lighting and this, yay.
Which is so good, because you hear.
But it leads to intimacy.
Right, but it also leads to skin tone, because, which is very important, and you talk about that in the retrospectives from the actresses who say, even down to the makeup and hair, all of this mattered. And so I noticed the beautiful lighting.
So we had to do it right. That was like minimum, and everybody was down for that. And what I want to say is Alfre Woodard was our first interview.
And I have to tell you, that does not surprise me. We've known each other for many, many years. I can't believe that, wow, you know, when you started your story, explaining how so many people, Alfre, from the beginning said, what are you thinking? Don't do this for a profession. and then all of the things that come after that. Take us to that story you shared at the beginning.
It's tough to do because not because it's hard to tell, but I leave stuff behind. I leave it behind, even the good stuff. So I love it when I run into people and they say, "Remember that night I have all those. Remember that day? Remember when this was happening?" And I love it because it's always a surprise because I'm always in the present or expectant of the next moment in a great way. So it never occurred to me. I'll tell you a quick story. My father, I can remember junior high school first, I wanted to run for parliamentarian or something in the school. And this was Marian Anderson Junior High School. And my father said, "Why aren't you running for president?" I said, "Because they're gonna give it to a boy, so I know I can get this." And he said, "Well, you're just gonna have to figure out how to get it from him." And then I go up to Bishop Kelly High School, and I wanted to run for secretary or the second treasurer or something. He said, "What? Why aren't you running for president?" And I said, "Because Doug or David, one of the white boys are gonna win it. So I'm gonna go for what I know I can get." And he said, "Alfre, you're gonna have to figure out how to get what you want from men for the rest of your life. So, how are you gonna do it?" This is my father, not my mother, who would say, "Yes, be the secretary." So all of that to say, it never occurred to me because I knew why I came. I got shocked when I got here and realized it was a meat market, and it cared little for expertise, for talent, for integrity, for what do you call it, like a work ethic. They just wanted the bad kids in the back of the room to bring that energy, and they would use it and they would profit from it. So it didn't mean anything to me. I didn't even take it personally. People first it was like, "Are you kidding? Is that what I just heard you say in an office?" But it wasn't true. It didn't mean anything to me, and you keep going.
What was it like to see your peers be that open? Because you knew what you'd said, you didn't know what everyone else had said. And now you get to watch, like us, hear those common
I know
thread
all
stories.
those women.
So the stories were
They are
known.
my sisters.
Yeah.
She has the footnotes.
So we gather sometimes. We gather sometimes. We did a thing called Sisters Soiree for many years. COVID sort of put a damper on that. But even if we're just two of us, three of us, three of you gathered together, the biblical thing, three black women actors, if you see each other, you're gonna stop and talk. And maybe our fans do like a fantasy football, a fantasy act, Oscar or something, but you know what? We are working people. It's so interesting that the timbre of last night's film compared to this one. So I can't wait for you guys to see the men. It is so different. Let's just say that.
Well, okay, so just because I want everybody to talk about the timbre, the difference.
Okay, no, I just want to tell you this. So we have said to each other, we know each other's story, and so we sit here looking at this, but the reason we keep going is, that person will say, "Okay, girl, excuse my language."
Just say it.
Fuck them. They can't get rid of this. They don't know what to do. Okay, yeah. We bring each other back.
So you
to
brought us
perspective.
into the party. You brought us into the party. What was that? I can't remember which show that said it was like a secret black society. And it was like you brought us into the secret room of what you all talk about. Dan, what I also love is the education here. I mean, I'm sure many of you had the same reaction when you see the casting, right? Who they were looking for. There was that letter, that ad that said long-legged black woman. Or when you hear your agent say, "We had to wait for it to open up," meaning they're going to look for the last white person standing before it opens up to you. You're the only white person here, so you are our DEI. So I say that with love and respect.
Thank you for opening the door. I don't have to kick it over. Listen, I just want to take, I'm going to answer the question, but I just want to take a minute to say, I've made a lot of movies. I produced, 150 movies in my career, and I'm as proud of this film as anything I've ever done. It's incredibly meaningful to me. I think Shola put us in a room with people that we don't encounter and we don't get to listen to. And we actually get to sit and listen and take in what they have to say, and that is incredibly rare and very special, and she created a unique environment in which to do that, and I'm just honored to be a part of it. And I also have to say, Datari, who conceived these movies, brought me in as a partner, and it's one of the great honors of my life is to help make these movies. Sorry, your question again?
I forgot between your answer and Alfred's.
I got caught up.
No, I was asking you, it's not only, for two things, I got two follow-ups here. First, I was asking you about the education here, because most of us have not seen those specific calling cards with who they are looking for. And to hear vernacular like, until they open up.
The film industry is fucked up. It just is in so many different ways, and to make anything good, you have to break the rules, and you have to bust down that door, and that's what all these women did. And I think showing that even these incredibly successful people had to do all of that and still have to do all of that. You know, hearing from Alfre, I thought Viola's interview to me just absolutely blew me away. Like, hearing what you still have to do, it's an incredible education. This man is an encyclopedia of cinema history, and I think the film in some way reflects all the things that you just never got to know, that you now understand that Shola was able to bring out.
I think that's the brilliance of it, is that it is cinema history. Shola, I want to pick up on something Dan said about, we feel like we know every woman in that documentary, and yet, as you pointed out, we don't. And you see for the first time literal tears. I mean, Taraji was crying. There are literal, real tears talking about current day Hollywood. What was that like for you?
Well, that was, the tears weren't the point, but it's a documentary. And having gone to journalism school, the phrase that is always in my mind is narrative nonfiction. Narrative, it needs to be a good story. And nonfiction, it has to be true. And so the basis of that for this, because there is no history book that has their stories, they all have it, you know, in their soirees, were the interviews. That was the crux. And it was my favorite part, to sit in that set and to reveal, give them the space to be themselves. And then the process of making the film is to galvanize the best moments and figure out how to tell the entire story. And that's what the team helps us do. But here's the thing, everything they said, there was evidence for. So it wasn't like, oh yeah, one said this about scripts. There were scripts, right? There are bylines where we get called sassy black. I mean, you know what I'm saying? And so what was really important is to support their truth. And also, my favorite part is that the film takes you through so many emotions because that's what they gave us. They love the craft, and you feel it.
That's what I meant by the tears, because you can have a great story, but if it rings, what's the Anthony Hamilton song? Do you feel me? Am I getting through to you? And I think that you have this incredible story that we are Black. We are not unfamiliar with whatever occupation you're going back into on Monday morning with that adversity. That is not an unfamiliar story. the intimacy and the delivery of this was, I feel, what broke through. The evidence, we've seen the evidence, but to hear it from these current day empowering women who are finding not to look at the past, but use it as perspective, I thought that's what was so beautiful about it.
We gave them, we designed the set. We had a team that made them feel special from the very beginning. They came, they sat there, and we sat with them.
Yeah.
We weren't like, we got 15 minutes for you, come on, blah, 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 excited. So
How long did the average interview take?
Oh my gosh, 2 hours, 3 hours?
Yeah, it definitely varied. A lot of them, like we said, they were working on movies at the time. So I'll tell you one thing: the difference between the men's film and this film are like a really big difference. A lot of the women in the movie are personal friends of mine, and when I called them to a lot of them to do the movie, it was like they had to psych themselves up to even want to do it. Like a lot of the guys, you probably have 7 guys in the men's film that make $20 million a movie. They built enormous production companies on the men's side. The Rock is a billionaire. Will is worth $300 million. Like the wealth is obscene on the men's film. And on this film, I remember, sorry to tell the story about Nia, but before she did the interview, she was like, I just made $1 million 3 years ago.
That's what Nia Long
for the first time in my career, and I've been doing this for 30 years. And if it wasn't for Kenya Barris that went to Netflix and said, you gotta pay her $1 million, she had never made $1 million before in her entire career. So the pay difference between, the men and the women is still like it's not close. Now I will say Hallie is in that club where she's made $15 million to it. She has made that kind of money, but a lot of the women haven't. The pay is still, the gap is very far apart.
Alfre, how did that feel, having that be an exploration? Because it was more than just black and white, so to speak. It was gender.
Yeah. And I'm going to talk about I keep getting sort of catching myself because I'm thinking, say something that's going to be constructive. And try to stay, let's stay with the narrative. There's a narrative here. But I'm just going to say, what struck me is, yes, we all know they get everything. They get showered, the way male children get showered. But when they talk about, you say to them, number one on the call sheet, it's about the money. It's about, they all talked about the money. They all talked about, like, King of the Hill. They all talked about Star. They all talked about, we made it. And that's just the difference between how girls and boys think. And we're all male and female in the one person, but it just, it fascinates me. So some of that is cultural, from the time we are 3 years old, somebody is saying to us, okay, be nice, don't feel like that. Oh, we make allowances for the guys, and the 3-year-old boy comes through and knocks the whole freaking, your hunt table over with all your crystal on it, and everybody, those boys. So it's so interesting that even the way we come to our work and come to the business and think about it is, it takes all of us, but it's just so curious. We never even got to the money because, whatever your profession is, you know what the money is, the money situation, male to female, especially black and brown females. So It's very different, but I think they're great bed partners, not bed partners. So you have to see them both together, and they are, and all of them are my brothers, and I love all of them, and they have all bought me dinner and drinks, or some of them have. So they share their little $2 million.
We want to see the outtakes of your interviews. Mishka, I want to bring up something that stood out to me was the list of supporting actress winners in the Oscars, and then you're on a high when you're watching the documentary because it's like all of these supporting actresses are named, and it's like boom, and we're like feeling. I mean, I was in my bed like sitting up like okay, no, yes, and then it's like, oh, but wait, and then Whoopi comes in as Whoopi does, and breaks it down. You're telling me that all of these people weren't good enough. How was that for you?
I think I experienced the interviews. I think one of the reasons I love this film so much is because it was a privilege to sit in on these interviews. I mean, there are so many people in the audience that were on set. Nora here helped design it. Mariko was our line producer. Like, there were grips and gaffers crying, right? Went through the whole journey. These interviews were very special. And I was gonna connect it to your question. But I was surprised how much their stories resonated with, the stars are just like us. With as a Black professional woman, there were so many stories that resonated, and just with the lead and supporting,
Shola, if there's a subtitle for the women's version of this, right? Like we look at the title, but it is very different than what aired yesterday. This similar audience. What's the subtext of it from the POV of woman?
I don't know. But what I do want to say is, Alfre,
What is thoughtful, emotional, leave us hanging.
Not leaving. Listen, part of what we all do when we're out in the world is we think it's us individually, and it's not. And so we don't know the story and the history and the context. It's a relief, right? And then you go, oh, right, I don't make as much, this is why. It's not because, it's nothing to do with me and my excellence. It is the box y'all fucking put me in.
That's the subtitle.
There we go. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And so knowledge is power.
But I will say the one thing, like even on the guys, a lot of the movies that they got weren't written for Black men as well, and there's still levels to it. I mean, the guys are paid, handsomely, but I know movies that Leonardo DiCaprio got $80 million to do, like literally, that he didn't even want to do. So it still is levels. I mean, to compare to
what was the most illuminating thing for you when you got done? What did you say?
I mean, I think we were just very intentional about creating a blueprint with these movies that would be studied by generations to come. You only get to do this once in a lifetime, to assemble all these people to be in one movie, right? And again, as I opened up and said before you guys saw the movie, pretty much all of us are like first generation successful a lot of times, right? We don't come into the business with a mentor, we don't, to teach us how to navigate or, pay your taxes, or don't take a bad script, for a check, or don't, and it's that's what the movies are designed to do, is to give actors a blueprint on this is how you gotta do it. Don't wait by the phone for somebody to call you for a role. Go read books, go option IP, go create. That's what a lot of the men have done too, because they, Will would call Stallone and call Arnold Schwarzenegger and try to call these guys and say, what's the secret sauce with it? And Arnold was say, he's like, you gotta go find the things that you want to do, because no one is at home writing a project for you. So
we're not seeing that version of that in this. So
well, Viola, you Hallie,
much, I should
obviously,
say, as much,
a lot of them that are doing it. I mean, Hallie produced Introducing Dorothy Dandridge, which won her a Golden Globe before she won the Oscar. Viola obviously produced The Woman King, and you are you are starting to see that, but you really do have to create, your own stuff. You just got to do it, because nobody's, writing these projects for. I mean, Flight wasn't written for Denzel; it was written for George Clooney. So it's the same on the men's side too.
So we have a few more minutes. What's your final thoughts, Shola?
Tell your friends. I hope you enjoyed the movie. That's what I hope you feel seen and heard, and all the women who are in it feel seen and heard, and that, particularly for I like the guys to see it too, but particularly for the women out there, that, we all should be number one on our call sheet, so there's something to learn, right?
Mishka?
Well, I was lucky enough to have my 12-year-old daughter beside me while I watched.
Oh.
Wait, she's not here. She's right there.
Well, she's got a great story for school tomorrow.
You just made me look really bad. Okay. My Violet and Julian are here.
I meant that watching it with her, was special.
Yeah.
And
That's beautiful.
Okay, and I just want to say, Auntie Alfre, sometimes she just runs out of vocabulary. You have so much vocabulary. You need to lean into that.
That's your personal takeaway for the rest of us. Alfre.
You know what? You're going to watch this again, because I know you're going to want to watch it with friends. You want to talk about it. You're going to watch the part 1 with the guys. And I want you guys to know, I know every single one of those women, and they are joyful most days.
Yes.
They got asked a question, and we came off of our work days off the road and just sat down, and you told the truth, because it's like, baby, I want to tell you something.
Yeah.
But our everydays, you see your auntie, your moms, everybody, there is nothing that takes away our joy. Think of 400 years, we should be crying and walking and hanging on just on any post we can get to. That is our power. I just want you to know that those ladies, they are bouncing and singing and loving every day.
And working. And we're watching. And working and we're watching. What do you want the audience to take away and share with people that they will call right after this?
I mean, I'm just so proud of the movie, both of them. I mean, this incredible team, assembled in front and behind. I feel like this was the sessions that we all used to have talking about movies and actors and what just like it was such a joy to make these movies. It took 5 years to make the movies, probably another 2 before that having to live with it and develop it and sell it to to Apple. But yeah, I just hope you guys love the movies, and these people, man, like they just it's a lot of pain and a lot of struggle that go to do this thing, and just it's great to be able to pull the curtain back and for people to really see it.
And?
Well, as the DEI member of the panel, I don't know that I should have the final word.
We're just going in order.
Okay. But I do just want to say one thing about Apple. Thank God they decided to make these movies. Molly, Erica, thank you for putting everything you did into these movies. Thank you to Zach and Jamie, who created the movies, and thank you to Rita for bringing them out into the world in the aggressive way that you're going to. And listen, these films needed to be made, and it would have been easy. It was not easy to make them. I can't imagine they'll ever be done again. Datari is going to have to spend another 5 years wrangling all the talent, but I feel very lucky that Apple made that decision, and it's putting them out in the world, and they deserve a lot of credit for that.
And I just want to give props to the right group, Apple TV Plus. You just say Apple because it's short and
Apple TV Plus. Well, I can tell you.
I just say Apple Film.
Yes. I encourage everyone to go to your social media, spread the word. People often talk about our stories not being told or people trying to erase those stories. I applaud you. It is one of the most compelling and beautiful things. I could watch it over and over. It's an emotional roller coaster, but to Alfre's point, you leave feeling like there is nothing you cannot accomplish and nothing that you can't beat, even when the odds seem insurmountable. So congratulations, Apple TV Plus. It is beautiful. Thank you so much for that.